Hey guys, Mark Kwok here. I want to talk about one of the most iconic pieces of clothing that kind of ever existed, and that is the Levi's 501 jeans. Now these are a little different, but let's talk about it. I think every person, man or woman, should have a pair of jeans in their closet and something that they probably wear multiple times a week. But the 501 is special because it's kind of the original, and I think through the decades, it has become incredibly legendary, but also has remained something that people wear every single decade, whether it's the 1930s, whether it's 1980s, whether it's the 2020s, people are continuing to wear the 501. So let's talk about why and if it's worth it and my particular pair of jeans here. This right here is a pair of Levi Vintage Clothing. So that's actually a different line than the regular Levi's. It's their kind of premium vintage line. This is the 1947 Levi Vintage 501s. I'm a little late to the crowd in terms of buying 501s. They've always been a little wider than the silhouette I like. Generally, the silhouette I like is a little bit slimmer, and that's just maybe the signs of my times. But slim cut jeans, maybe not skinny, but having it slim is kind of my silhouette. But these days, as you guys know, wider pants are in, and people are flaring like crazy. So the 501, even though they're not necessarily known as wide pants, they have a little bit more room. They're straight cut, and so all of a sudden these things look a little bit more in once again. My thought is, I would look for a pair of 501s that are 100% cotton. That's the first thing I would look for, because I think there's a lot of versions that have some sort of flex in them. And those are fine. It's just if you're looking for something that's a little bit more high quality, heavy duty, lasts a little longer, I think the 100% cotton version is the version I would look for. They're gonna be a little bit more expensive, but that's the way I'd go. The second thing is, if you can afford it, Levi Vintage Clothing is the line that I love about Levi's the most. And there's a reason. The highest quality, they put the most detail into it. Unfortunately, they are the most expensive. So if you're into Levi's, but you want the most premium experience, I would look into Levi Vintage Clothing over regular Levi's, but the regular Levi 501 are fine as well. I mean, people love the 501s from the regular line. There's also the question of whether to go shrink to fit or to just find something that's already rinsed and completely like sized perfectly. This is complete preference, but the original is supposed to kind of be the rinse to fit one, where you buy a couple sizes up, you kind of dunk them in hot water or even wear them in hot water, and then you do the whole raw denim thing. And it's a whole thing, and I think it's not right for everybody, but if you have the patience for it and you want to try it out, that's the direction I would go. One note before kind of closing this part of the video up, I will say that when you're going Levi Vintage Clothing, the kind of higher line, you're gonna notice that there are a ton of lines, like 1954, 1947, 1963, This requires a lot of research, and I would look at other videos and just see what's best for you. Now, I will say, I went with 1947 because that's kind of generally known as the most iconic year. It's probably the slimmer side of the 501s. It's just probably the safest bet, honestly, if you're looking for the Levi Vintage Clothing one. So as a shortcut, if you want to go with what I went with, Levi Vintage Clothing 1947. What are the pros and cons of these jeans? Well, the pros first are, one, it's an iconic, legendary jean. You're just not going to go wrong with them as far as timelessness. The thing about these are they're so iconic that they're going to look good from 20 years ago, they're going to look good now, and they're probably going to look good in 20 years. And yes, they may not be the perfect silhouette for the times, but they're gonna remain its own silhouette, something that I think that kind of just generic straight cut. Maybe it's not gonna be the most trendy out there, but it's gonna be a good fitting, just regular pair of jeans that you know will stand the test of time. You can have these things for a long time. Two, what I love about these is that Levi Vintage Clothing actually has pretty good quality stuff. Now, they really put a lot of attention to detail of making sure that it's authentic to what it used to be. So whatever this jean looked like in 1947, it's really painstakingly, they're trying to get the details right. You could see like the rivets and stuff are covered. Like there's all these different things. That level of thoughtfulness generally means a better garment. I do also think now wearing this silhouette, I mean, it's much more comfortable than going too slim. A lot of people went with skinny jeans or even the slim jeans. Having that extra room here, but then it doesn't look too baggy. So it's kind of like this perfect medium as far as fit goes. Now, what are some things that are cons or things to watch out for? One, I mean, the Levi Vintage Clothing version is going to be expensive. So I would look for a sale. I got these on on sale. It doesn't happen that often, but you will find them go on discount every now and again. So normally it might be like a $250 jean, but you could get it for like $150 or something like that. If you think it's too much, I would go down to just the regular 501s from Levi's. They're gonna have a somewhat similar silhouette. I do think they are wider actually than the 1947 here, but you can shrink them a little bit more to get that silhouette closer to the 1947s. The second thing is if you just don't wanna deal with the whole raw denim thing, then don't deal with the raw denim thing. I mean, it's kind of a culture in and of itself. People go crazy over this sort of stuff. That's not really for me, but I thought I'd give it a shot. It turned out it was fine. If that really sounds like the worst thing for you, I would kind of probably stick to already washed, already kind of shrunken jeans. The last con is that, you know, it's gonna be hard to really, because of the shrink to fit element, and also because not a lot of the 501s are going to be at stores, it just becomes a mess. It's a lot of research you gotta do to find the right one. So that is also something that I'm not a huge fan of. It's a con for me. So in summary, should you get a pair of 501s? I personally like the way they fit. I like the way they feel. I think the quality's good. The 1947 LVC ones, I think, are excellent pairs of jeans, and something that isn't, you know, it's a kind of a new silhouette for me, but something that isn't so crazy. If any of the cons that I mentioned, or all this stuff about 501s being different all over the place, if any of that really bothers you and is like starting to get at your nerves, I would say maybe try it on once, see if you like it, and then if not, move on. So it's not a must buy. It's a if you like it buy, but that's kind of where I'm at. The confusion, I get it. I get that's a problem, and I get that there's so many jeans out there. You don't have to get the original anymore. It's like this is just like it's a snobby thing almost. Like, get a pair of jeans that fit you and look good on, like, that's number one. Have it fit you and be comfortable. Like, that's more important than finding a 501 that works for you. Cool, that was a ton about 501s, and I'm sorry if that was very tedious, but I just thought I'd share because it's an iconic jean. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Mark Kwok. I'll see you guys on the next one.